Carlsbad. People, Purpose, and Impact. An essential podcast for those who live, work, visit, and play in Carlsbad.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Brett Schanzenbach. I'm the president and CEO of the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce, and I am your host this morning. And I'm excited to have with me Mr. Neall Digert. He is the vice president at Solatube International. Good morning, Neall.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm fantastic. Great to have you.
It's a beautiful day.
Yes, it is. And Neall, you have an interesting distinction. You have a PhD.
Yes.
But, and I'm sure it's some really technical PhD, but you kind of go by being a doctor of daylight. Could you explain what that means?
That is kind of the pet term I think a lot of colleagues have come up with for me. I love architecture. I love design. But more importantly, I love how architecture and the environment drives our perception and our interaction with the world around us. And so my degrees all encompass engineering, physics, psychology, perception, organic chemistry related to neurochemistry and hormone production, and really specifically looking at how light drives our body's circadian rhythm and psychological and physiological response.
Man, that's a lot of very intricate stuff, but I know it actually for you comes down to very practical applications, which we're gonna talk about today, and I'm excited to kind of unpack a bit. You got some of your degrees, if not all of them, at the University of Colorado in Boulder.
All of them. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have family out in that area. It's a beautiful part of the country.
It is. Boulder is special, but Carlsbad, how can you beat it?
Yeah, it's tough to beat Carlsbad, that is for sure. And you currently work for Solatube, and we're going to talk about them as well.
Great.
A world leader in natural daylighting systems. Is that fair to say?
That is exactly right.
Yes.
The innovator of the tubular daylighting device, and our global headquarters is here in North County.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
The tubular, say that again?
Tubular daylighting device.
Tubular daylighting device.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very cool. And we will talk about that. One of the things that caught my eye on LinkedIn, you've put that you have you've always nurtured a thirst for knowledge and pushed the envelope of innovation and creative inspiration. So amongst all that, why did that drive you into daylight?
Okay, so kind of interesting story. So my career path, I had two options that I was identified early on in school the aptitude tests that you take.
Right.
Identify as opportunities. My options were architect or dentist.
Man, you chose the right field.
Yeah. So I decided at the time my dentist was a really nice gentleman who had incredibly hairy knuckles. And for whatever reason, that just turned me off on the concept of dentistry. So when it came time to choose a career path, I actually started applying to schools for architecture. But I love math. I love exploration. I love science. And I have been raised with design. So I figured, well, heck, design is just part of who I am. I really wanted to nurture the more technical side, the engineering thought process.
Yeah.
So I actually wound up applying to universities to become a structural engineer. And so my bachelor's degrees are in structural engineering and illumination engineering. So I started in structural engineering and discovered in the process that structural engineers at the time really kind of followed a recipe book. There really wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for innovation and creating something new and different. Whereas in my quest for structural engineering, one of the courses that I had to take was light and lighting. And the professor, the head of the lighting department at University of Colorado Boulder in the engineering department, was this amazing individual. So David DeLaura started out as a Jesuit priest.
Oh, wow.
And he was in the final stages of committing to becoming a priest when he decided that really wasn't for him.
Yeah.
He loved teaching and he loved inspiring minds. And he was incredibly, he is an incredibly gifted mind. And so he started kind of a new practice. He moved into architecture and lighting design from becoming a Jesuit priest.
Wow.
And then found his way to education. And he was just incredibly inspiring. And nearly every young mind that he taught ultimately became passionate about lighting. So he fostered that interest and love. And in the process, it became really apparent that lighting is this really fun, dynamic field, because it truly does impact how we perceive the world around us, as well as then how we do function. And daylight is a core part of that. And so as a result, I had the opportunity to explore not only design and how we can reveal architecture in a meaningful way through the use of light, but more importantly, how we can use light to make people healthier, more mentally engaged,
yes,
and happier.
Yes.
And so that's how I find my way to daylight.
All right, and we're going to talk about that.
Great.
And get into that a little bit more. But I think this would be a great place. We're going to take a brief pause because I really want to get into all the cool stuff you guys do at Solatube and the things you just shared. So we're going to take a brief pause for an announcement, and we'll be right back. So Neall, we were talking before the break about your passion for light, and tell people, we talked about how Solatube uses tubular daylighting systems. Mm-hmm. Explain to people what that means and how you guys, the amazing innovation and technology, because I don't know, when I first think of natural light, at least before I met you guys years ago, I think of these traditional skylights that were just kind of like a plastic little dome thing in the ceiling or the roof. Yeah. But it is unbelievably so much more.
Totally different.
Yeah, different. Share with us a little bit about that.
Yep. So when people think about, windows or skylights, so fenestration as the technical term, we think about windows with views to the outside. We think about skylights that admit light from the top of the room. But we have issues with those types of products. Certainly with a window or a skylight, we have shifting patterns of light, which become really problematic in office environments and classroom environments. So we want to control the light to highlight specific objects or elements in a consistent way, regardless of what's happening outside.
Yeah.
And a window and a skylight can't traditionally do that.
Right.
The other key issue is that with skylights, people think of skylights and they think, oh, skylights leak. They're going to start to crack and craze over time. So Solatube, 30 years ago, invented the tubular daylighting device, TDD. And it is a third typology of fenestration. So it's not a window. It's not a skylight. It is an optical system from top to bottom, uses key refractive and reflective optics to selectively harvest beneficial angles of light from the sky. It becomes increasingly reflective or rejecting of light from the sun during problematic times of the day or year. Mm-hmm. And then, right as you said, we're using an advanced optical tube or light guide to be able to take the harvested daylight from the rooftop and redirect it over very short pathways or very long convoluted pathways to the interior space and deliver it like lighting equipment.
Yeah.
So the fixtures, we're sitting under a space right now that's fully daylit with Solatube products.
Yes.
And as a result, it functions as lighting equipment, but we're getting all the important psychological and physiological inputs from the daylight source that we don't get through electric lighting.
That is amazing.
Balancing the luminous environment. So here you are sitting in this beautiful space, windows on two sides, no need for blinds, because we have perfectly balanced brightness and contrast ratios.
Oh, that's amazing. So, as you mentioned, your tubular system can work in, short runs, but you mentioned very long, complex ones.
Yes.
So let's draw that out a little bit. Can you operate or can you put Solatubes into multi-story buildings?
Absolutely. So that's the neat part of the product is we've invented a lot of intellectual property and technologies for the system through the years. One of them being the advanced optical tubing that we utilize, what we call Spectralight Infinity, which is an optical system that loses virtually no light with reflection. So we achieved a specular mirror-like reflectance that was theoretically impossible 20 years ago. So we actually lose less than 0.3% of the light with each bounce. And so as a result, once we get the light into the tubing, it will eventually find its way out. And so then we are able to literally duct the daylight, just like you would duct air. We can duct it throughout a building, so we can move it vertically down through walls, through chases, and then turn it horizontally into the ceiling plane, and then deliver it into the space through daylight fixtures. So a light fixture type effect. And so the nice thing is we can do this all with minimal light loss. And so low-rise commercial buildings are really kind of the core of our business today. So typically, 1 to maybe 3 stories, 4 stories is typical. But the fun thing is that architects have the opportunity to bring daylight deep into the core of a building if it is critical to how the occupants are going to function. So think about a clothing manufacturer where they have a design studio and they're designing their own fabrics. And they have to have perfect color perception. There is no better light source than daylight. And so the nice thing is we can now duct the daylight from the exterior of the building down into core elements of the building to have perfect color perception at all times of the daylight hours.
That's amazing. And so with that, it's not just like we're here in an office environment, and as you mentioned, we're lit by Solatube daylight system here. And to be honest, I've been spoiled. I think about the last 10 years of my career, I've been in office spaces that were solely Solatube lit, which I'm so appreciative of. But what about other things like warehouses, gymnasiums, things like that?
All of those.
Yeah.
So the fun thing is using the technology or the concepts of the technology, we can scale them up or scale them down, implement kind of new features that allow us to take the harvested daylight and apply it to virtually any architectural space. So the company started for residential markets.
Okay.
Right? So we started as a residential product back in the mid 80s. And then when I joined the company in 2000 is when we really started to explore the commercial industrial side of things. And that's kind of my passion. And so today we have a broad range of products that allow us to daylight offices, what people typically think of, but more importantly, we can fully daylight classrooms.
Yes.
Schools. So, we think about, so architecture is fashion that we live and work in. And there are fashion trends that come and go.
Right.
And they impact human health. We're just finally figuring that one out. And so by implementing daylight through a dedicated daylighting system, as opposed to a window or a traditional skylight, now we can fully light the space, but do so in a way that does drive our psychology and our neurochemistry, chronobiology over time. But so the nice thing is, to your question then, Brett, I mean, classrooms are perfect because we can actually start to really improve the mental health and functioning of students. And there are robust studies that document that. We can light manufacturing areas, warehouses. So we can now focus the light for perfect colored light, so perfect rendition of products on a stacked warehouse aisle, so people can easily discern and pick product based on either the writing or colored tags or what have you. During the manufacturing process, daylight is going to be unique in how it renders surfaces and materials. So in the manufacturing process, we actually can improve or boost the ability to discern defects.
Oh wow!
And so suddenly now, not only are the workers happier with the daylight and they're healthier with the daylight, but now their functionality gets significantly improved. So we drop right to the bottom line of the efficiency of a business.
That's amazing.
Warehouse. I mean, so also, Brett, just other building types. I mean, obviously, we see convention centers. How many times do we sit in a conference and we're sitting in this windowless environment? We have no idea whether it's noon or midnight, but now we can fully daylight it with these products and have these beautiful, glorious daylight chandeliers that provide all the biological input that our bodies crave and still function in these really fun spaces.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. And you've touched on it a little bit, but you've said like there's many studies that show the benefits of daylight to our health, to our mentality. But I think too, and you might have touched on this a little bit too, but our productivity levels as human beings then is just going to go up.
Absolutely. So what's really interesting, Brett, one of the key, there are actually two important cues that are associated with daylight that we don't have with electric light. The first one being that the spectral content of daylight is constantly changing. It changes due to time of day as well as sky condition. And so while we're sitting at your desk and I'm looking at a white piece of paper, and you know that throughout the day, it doesn't matter whether it's early morning, late afternoon, solar noon, or a highly overcast day, that white paper is white paper.
Right.
But subconsciously, or actually biologically, our bodies are designed to perceive the nuanced spectral content. So mornings and afternoons, when light's a little bit more red, our bodies, our brains perceive that, and actually drives when and how our brains produce, or our bodies produce, specific neurotransmitters or hormones that affect our functioning over the course of the day. So spectral content is unique cue number one. The second unique visual cue is slight rises and falls in output or lumen output, right? So the intensity of light. That too is very important because our brains, we are visual beings. So 80% of our brains are devoted to processing the visual world around us. And the rise and fall and changing spectral content provides very subtle visual cues that keep our brains awake and engaged. So when we're sitting at our desks, we don't feel the need to go get coffee, talk to coworkers, right? We have perception of what's happening outside. We have school kids who are fully engaged in the teacher's lesson at the time. They're not looking out a window for visual comfort or, daydreaming. So that then results in significant increases in productivity over the course of the day, and in even the student's ability to learn over the course of the year.
Oh, that's amazing. So another feature I want to, just draw out, just because, some people, maybe this is the first time they're really hearing about this much more technologically advanced version of natural light coming into a place. But you also have, like in our boardroom where we have your Solatubes, we have the ability to dim those. So when we need that darkened room for AV purposes, right? So we're not a slave to what time of day it is just because we have that system in, which is great. Well, obviously you already mentioned this, but it's based on daylight. So talk about what you guys do, how you integrate other features, so at night you can still use your product.
So for us, the name of the game is giving the occupants, the users of the space, what they need to set the look, the feel, the theme that they required at any given moment. But we're using it or doing so using, free daylight for daytime hours, certainly. But we want to boost the functionality of the product. So think about, what you do at home, and you have wall box dimmers for the lights over your kitchen island, or you have switches controlling the table lamps around the house. We want just like we want to kind of tune the ambience of our homes, we need to do the same thing with our work environments or school environments. So with the Solatube products, we have designed the product so that, yes, we can utilize optical dimmers that can be integrated into the product as an option. So we can have full range dimming during daytime hours. We can go from 100% robust daylight down to near blackout conditions when we need it.
Yep.
Or we can stop anywhere in between just to kind of temper the daylight resource if we want to. But then also we want to create spaces that are clutter-free and really reveal the architecture in a unique way. So we have also invented some, or actually certainly developed some really fun new LED-based technologies that get integrated into the product so we can have 24-hour illumination.
Nice.
The beautiful radiant daylight by day, and then a different spectral content light source through LED sources at night. So one product now, one fixture in the ceiling that does it all.
Does it all from one. That's great. So it's not just, and honestly, I wish I had that in here. Mine are probably 20 years old now here in this building. And so,
well, we can upgrade them at any point.
True. But the certain times a year, like December, if I'm working here late and it does get, I won't notice it. And you've probably experienced this because this is your world, but you'll be, it gets so, the light changes so gradually. I don't even notice that it's changed until you walk out of a space, maybe to somewhere else, and come back and go, "Oh my goodness, it's dark in here." But it was so natural. I didn't feel it.
You don't notice it.
Yeah, but then occasionally, those times a year, I got to flip on a light, and I cannot stand these fluorescent.
It's amazing how sensitive you become.
Yes,
to that. Yes.
I hate them.
No. You're exactly right. We're fortunate in that we are 100% daylit in our buildings around the world. So the nice thing is that, just as you said, it's almost like the frog in the boiling pot of water.
Yeah.
Right. You don't realize that things have changed until things are
really changed.
Drastically different. So, same thing in the winter months here in Carlsbad when 4:30, it's pretty much dark outside.
Right.
And colleagues will walk past my office and they'll look in. They're like, "Neall, you're sitting in the dark. Don't you need to turn your lights on?" It's like, "Oh my gosh, I guess I should."
Yeah,
but
exactly.
So the nice thing is, with the LED emitters and those technologies, now we integrate with the lighting control system so that the building can automatically adapt. So the building will transition from daylight to nighttime illumination when occupied.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that is just how we make things work these days.
Oh, I love it. Now, I've heard you speak before. I remember you explaining once, and I think it was, kind of centered around a school environment, but obviously it translates into other places as well. And you were explaining the difference between light from a window, and the daylight that comes through, like with your product, and that they're literally not the same.
Two different purposes.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. So a window is just this glorious view to the world outside. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's there for. So any window that is really from head level or lower, its purpose is for vision outside, to see trees, to see birds and movement and experience what's happening outside. That's it. We have as experiential beings, we have an innate desire to view the horizon. If we don't see it, we become uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so what we want to do is have windows so we can see out, but those are not good sources of light because we have beams of daylight coming through. And if we're in an office environment, at home, okay, that's fine. We can get up, we can move around, we can move to a spot that's not in direct sunlight if we so choose. In the office environment or the retail environment, we don't necessarily have that option.
Yeah.
So now the name of the game becomes balancing the interior brightness ratio. So how the opaque walls of the architecture relate to the windows so that we don't have contrast or glare when we're looking out the window.
Yeah.
And so that's when we start to apply something like the Solatube tubular daylighting device to actually light the space. The Solatube is the light source that enables us to have quality views to the outside through the windows.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing, amazing. So again, I mentioned somebody might be listening to this and learning. Maybe they've heard of Solatube before, but they didn't know all the depth of the real ingenuity and innovation that goes into it. And if they want to learn more, where would you direct them right now?
I'm start out with our website, so solatube.com. And that's a great way to explore all the various technologies that we offer and learn more about the opportunities that exist, whether it's in the residential applications or the commercial, industrial, institutional type applications. And then from there, you have the opportunity to actually take continuing education courses. So anybody who's an architect or engineer or designer, we have online courses that they can actually take and get continuing education credits through key professional industry organizations. And then also they can choose to actually have us come talk to them. So we have people who are design experts that can come and really teach about the benefits of daylight. Why are we using it? Why do we want to use it? And then we also open up our office, as you know. We actually have annual events where we invite the public to come and see and experience and learn and have fun. Yeah,
that's wonderful. Well, that's great. And I know that personal side of life, you are an avid scout master leader, an Eagle Scout yourself.
I am.
And I think I saw something about now being involved in high adventure instruction.
Yep. So I love all outdoor activities. So hiking, canoeing, camping, all those things are really fun. And certainly my son and I was raised in the scouting.
Yeah.
My grandfathers were all avid outdoorsmen. My father then followed suit. And so every summer, my father is a geophysicist and geologist. So our idea of a fun family vacation was driving to some geologic formation and camping out and learning about rocks. So, in kindergarten, my classmates would walk up to me with these pebbles that they found in the playground. They're like, Neal, what's this? And I'd have to identify all the minerals that were there or something. It's like anyway, yes. So as a result, scouting is a big part of who I am, and just being able to help just people learn about themselves and develop, fun, a sense of accomplishment. So yes, so I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm active in Scouts today, certainly in San Diego Imperial Council. Our son is an Eagle Scout as well.
So congratulations. Good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come and share your passion with us. As I mentioned today, that I've got to hear you speak a few times, and I've always learned and I'm always inspired by it. And, for anybody out there, I highly encourage you to check out more about Solatube and their products and how it can be incorporated to make your world more efficient.
Outstanding. Thank you, sir. All listeners are welcome to come see us. Our doors are always open. I'm anxious. As you know, you get me talking about light. You can't stop me. It just happens. It just flows out.
Well, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on our Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact podcast today. If you enjoyed it, please hit the follow button on wherever you get your audio. And please tell a friend. We would love to hear your feedback, which you can share at carlsbadpodcast.com. You can leave us a review, ask a question, or leave an audio comment, which we can play on the show in the future. And that's all we have for today. Can't wait to see you next time on Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact. And remember, share some kindness today. It's free, creates goodwill, and makes you feel great.